Asking like I'm prepped. Like it's just gonna, you're gone.
If you want to, make sure you know. But if you want to introduce, and then you can have it.
Cool. Come on down. Awesome, guys. So Josh Keats with Varus Network, now formerly was an owner with Litton Keats Real Estate. Wes and I started the team back in 2018. So I've been in real estate since February of 2018. So getting ready to hit 4 years now. Loved every bit of it. I was an individual for a little while. Wes had an opportunity within the market center, which kind of forced us to officially create a team. You know, there's been some ups and downs and tough parts about it, but it's definitely been an amazing learning experience, every part of it. And on today's topic, our value proposition has changed every step of the way. So, you know, my value proposition as an individual, you know, doing my first deal is completely different than my value proposition to a client or to potential people that I meet, agents or maybe employees for our team. Completely different than it was, you know, 4 years ago, but even 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago at this point. So things are constantly changing, not just this market, but obviously with business evolving and everything else of that nature. So, yeah, one of the co-owners of Varus Network with Dan Holt, Jen Davis, and Wes Litton. Got some, you know, big goals to hit this year, and delivering value propositions is definitely one thing that's going to help us get there. So if at any time you guys have anything to say, I don't know if you can unmute yourselves. If you can, feel free to jump in. If you can't, throw it in the chat. I'll do my best to look over there. I'll try not to look over here the entire time and make sure I'm focused on the camera for you guys, but want to go ahead and get through it and get moving. I know we're a little bit late, and I value your guys' time and want to get things moving. So kind of first things first, I always want to kind of hear from everybody else. So if you're online, or you got the two of you guys here, would love to know what your guys' hopes are for the class. Like, what are you guys looking for? Hearing a little bit more about the value proposition, and then also getting some understanding, because you guys have been through how many other sessions already? Like five other sessions. Thank you. Yeah. So you guys have been through 5 other sessions already. What's something you guys are hoping to learn, or that you've enjoyed about a previous session that you're hoping can kind of come in here? So feel free to throw it in the chat. If you guys have any thoughts, just the two of you. If you guys have any thoughts, definitely let me know. My goal is to not just read a script. I can do that, but you guys can honestly just read it yourselves. So I'd love to have help from the couple that are here, and then also from you guys online. Anybody?
Yeah, I'm present here. I want to work on my scripting. So if I'm
Absolutely. I think that's David saying you're wanting to work on your scripting.
It's been 12 years since I did this. I've done this, and this is a whole refresher course. I'm just coming in as a brand new person this time. So that's probably the biggest thing there, because I've been watching the YouTube videos, and there's been a lot of scripting in there, make it your own, stuff like that.
Absolutely. I am, if I would be lying to you if I said I am the best at following a script that I see on paper. That's just not who I am. I love scripts, but I love internalizing them and turning them into mine towards an actual conversation. The majority of our listing presentations or our buyer presentations, I've actually got a few like Homebuyer Guides that we hand out. I love having them because it gives me a few bullet points to talk on. And what's great is it's usually those bullet points are our value proposition as a team. So I find, you know, obviously we go over all the paperwork that we have to go over. That's pretty self-explanatory. But when it comes to, we have a page in there, it's called Meet My Team. So now that I have a team, every transaction, I have the same 3 people that are part of my transaction. I've got Sam. She's going to be my listing coordinator. We've got a photographer. He's going to shoot every photo so I can sit there and say, hey, here it is. If an ISA or an OSA is the one that sets the appointment for me, I've got a picture of them. So these people who I'm meeting with know exactly who it is. So I'm able to actually provide a bullet point, and then really opens up my value proposition without it being like reading an actual script. So David, right on point with you there. And I would love to sit down further and talk about it. I know Mark does a phenomenal job with his scripts class you guys have to make sure I know what days they are. Cool. Monday, Thursday, Friday at 8:30 in the morning. Mark Stewart and his team do an absolutely amazing script practice class. I've not been able to attend one, but I've been down here while they're happening. And definitely, if you're wanting to follow or learn scripts, there's not many people better than Mark on the agent side of it to do it. So definitely jump in there. I'll put my, it is 8:30, you said? 8:30 is the time. I will put my information in the chat as well, and then up here on the board. So if anybody wants to, holler at me, meet, I'm more than happy to do so. Would love to sit down one-on-one and go over things. Welcome, Kevin. I was just telling how you're the best script person in the world. Yeah. I don't think Kevin knows what a script is. That's not something that he's made up in his head either. So they are all internal. So cool, guys. We'll go ahead and get rolling through the slides. No. One second here. I want to get your guys' slides working. I'm sure Nicole's watching and she's on her way downstairs knowing her, but I will call her real quick. Why can I not get the slides to move? Thanks. Cool, guys. Anything else? Anyone have any other questions? You guys that are down here have any other thoughts or questions as well? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think right now what we're going to see is a lot of that, right? A lot of like, hey, I can sell my house on my own, right? And there's instances when I've told somebody, yeah, you can, right? You definitely can sell your house by yourself. Does that mean you're gonna, you just click on it? How many times did I click on it? They heard it.
That doesn't work.
The mouse wasn't working on here.
Yeah, that mouse doesn't work.
No, I know this mouse wasn't working
Oh,
on
okay.
here.
Well, it worked for me.
You know,
I do.
needed.
I really have to say, sometimes it is just me.
Anyways, yes, you are correct. So right now, if you're a seller, one of the common objections you're going to hear is, I mean, I can sell my house, or you just told me there's no inventory. You just told me I'm going to get 10 offers. Why do I need to pay you? Right? Just because you can sell your house on your own doesn't mean it's going to be the best option. Doesn't mean it's going to benefit you the most. Doesn't mean that you're going to net the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of problems. We've had more success getting those people who do try that on their own to become our clients and end up being much happier because they realize how difficult it is. Or they've done it in the past and they say, I will never do that again. I'm never going to be responsible for writing my own contract. I'm never going to be responsible for scheduling my own showings and making sure the inspector can get in and making sure this house and that, blah, 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 and everything else is done. So 100%, we'll go over it some more. I think it's a much easier sell right now on the buy side, because by the time there's a house on the market or on Zillow or on Realtor or on whatever other site that they're using, it's gone. And they know that, right? So on the buy side, it's not really a problem right now. On the list side, it's definitely something to come into consideration. I rely back on my track record a lot, right? Pulling up instances, we've got reviews in our packets that we give that show, hey, we've had clients that say, I was for sale by owner. I was not getting the offers I was wanting. I was not getting the traffic I was wanting. I go and list with this team and boom, here it is, right? I get an offer 10,000 more than I was hoping, 10,000 more than what I net on their commission or anything of that nature. So we use those past experiences to benefit us, but also there are some scripts that we can go over as well when it comes to it. Alrighty. So now that I have the remote, we'll go ahead and get moving. So obviously we'll talk about this quickly, guys. We have 3 people on Mark Stewart's team. I know he is phenomenal about ingraining this into the success of his team. I've actually been office mates or wall mates with Mark for like 3 of the 4 years I've been here. So I get to hear Mark lead generate, lead follow up every day. As things have progressed for myself and my team, my lead generation and my lead follow-up looks different every day. And it looks different now than it did 6 months ago. I'm not necessarily lead generating as much today for homes to buy and sell, or people who want to buy and sell homes or invest in homes, real estate. I'm now lead generating and lead follow-up for people who may want to join our team, right? For positions that we need, or talking to other agents and learning how to continue to grow our team. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you're calling only for sale by owners, you're calling only expireds, you're only cold calling, circle calling for your buyers. The biggest success that I've ever had in real estate on the sales side of it was getting deeply involved into a group. I was a coach at a gym. I coached 2 days a week, and it produced almost $3.5 million for me the last year that I was a coach there. Didn't once bring up the fact that I was a real estate agent. People always ask, what do you do? Right. And I was at a gym with 350 people that I saw regularly. I get asked that question a lot. I never had to bring it up. I never had to be the annoying real estate agent that said, hey, I'm a real estate agent if you ever need anything. So I'm now, our team sponsors a couple of groups that I'm a part of now. I love to fish, love to kayak fish. We've sponsored these groups and they've returned, 10X on ROI. So it's definitely phenomenal when it comes to, you get to do what you love to do, what you want to do anyways, and then see a return, see a benefit from it. That, to me, there's nothing better than that. That's really when it stops being work and it starts being what you want to do. So the biggest thing for me that I always recommend people is find something that you love, that you're good at, that you're passionate about, get deeply involved in it and connect it to your state. It doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a pitch, but if people know that you're passionate about what you do, they want to be surrounded with you. So if people know that you're passionate about buying and selling homes or helping people buy and sell homes, they want you to be a part of their team when it comes time for them to buy or sell a home. It's always been a success for me. We'll go ahead and keep moving here. So I will ask you guys, give me an idea, and you guys online as well, of a few things that come up as your value proposition, right? When you just initially think about it, if you guys have scripted around it, obviously it may be a little bit further on down that funnel as well. But what just off the top of your mind comes to mind when you say, here's my value proposition? What are some things that you think are involved in that?
I would say the support training that Keller Williams offers, the marketing center, all the resources that are available to us to help us market their property, and pretty much the national, worldwide availability of agents. If they're here, they're moving to Arizona, I can get them something in Arizona. If they're moving to Oliver, I can set them up with an agent in Oliver. Probably a lot of that is going to be the selling point. That's why I came back to Keller Williams.
Absolutely. David,
I didn't
that's the
got
number
anybody
one
else.
thing. Yeah, you're 100% correct. When I was an individual agent, I used Keller Williams as a whole, and definitely Keller Williams Springfield as my number one value proposition, right? There were a couple things I focused on, but when I was starting out as an individual agent, and I didn't have a track record to fall back on necessarily, I used the fact that I was really close and really good friends with, and I could walk into Adam Grady or Dan Holtz or into the market center and tell 400 of the top agents in Springfield, hey, I've got this brand new listing. Here's what I need. Here's what my clients want. Here's what they're hoping for, and do things much easier than if I was anywhere else. And then, like you said, nationally, I can pick up the phone and we've got, Sam, how many referrals do we have in our team right now from Kansas City or St. Louis alone? We have 3 from just those 2 cities. I mean, you create referral partnerships. I know Mark does an amazing job. I get really annoyed by how good of a job Mark does with it. Every time I'm on a national Facebook group, Lab Code Agents or something, it's like, I have somebody in Rogersville. It was last week. Someone's like, I need a buyer's agent for Rogersville. I saw Mark's name within an hour. I saw Mark's name at least 15 times. No other agents, by the way, 0, which was incredible. I was like, I'm not even gonna bother with it. Like, Mark's got this on lock. Like, I trust him as an agent to represent them well and to represent Keller Williams well. Go run with it, right? But the fact that I don't have to go jump on a Facebook group to hopefully find a good agent somewhere else. I can jump onto a Keller Williams national Facebook group. I can jump on Kelly and find the best agents. One of my favorite transactions I've ever done is I had a client move out of California and they were moving to Springfield. I interviewed 3 agents for them. I interviewed multiple agents. I found 3 agents for them to meet with and said, meet with these people. I think one of these 3 are going to be your best pick. And they interviewed all 3 of them and they agreed with me that one of them was their best pick. I took a mailbox check. I got a referral check from it. And I know that I provided my clients with the best value possible in that situation, which then in turn, they were more than happy to come by with me if I was even willing to interview agents for them on their behalf. But I know that I can trust these people, being that they're at Keller Williams. Their values, their morals are going to be similar to mine, just being in the same company. 100%, David. I think that's you nailed it when you said just using Keller Williams as a whole. For me, I mentioned it earlier, my value prop is my team, right? I had Sam come down here because I wanted to, I'm going to have her say a couple of things, I guess, but I wanted to introduce her. So if I meet with a client, if Sam's not on the appointment, she is going to be immediately on a phone call or on a text or on an email chain, whatever the client prefers. Because it's Sam's amazing, but it's not just Sam, right? Our whole team, we've got transaction coordinators, we've got other director of ops, we've got our ISA and our director of lead gen, who any one of them individually, they're 100% a value proposition for our team. And as a whole, it makes a huge difference. But Sam, for me, she's going to be my listing coordinator. She's going to be my transaction coordinator. She's going to be my she's not going to be a marketing specialist, but she's going to be our data input. She's going to do everything. We also have Amanda up at our office. She's our marketing specialist. And wow, absolutely. She was showing like her click ratio and her impressions from last year. Insane, the amount of growth that she's had for the team in just a year. So that to me is our value prop. Sam, what do you think, working as a team, right? Having a transaction coordinator, whether it's, if David, if you're an individual agent, having a transaction coordinator doesn't mean you have to hire somebody anymore, right? We've got Onward, we've got how many ever third-party transactions you can find. I know Onward Agent Services, we have a close relationship with them and we've used them. Phenomenal. We've used Chelsea Seabolt when she was with KW before she left, and then now she's back. They're a fantastic group. That's a value prop, right? It's not necessarily even your team. You don't employ them, like you don't have them on a W-2, but they are your team members. They are your value prop or able to be your value prop for anybody as well. Other than that, Sam, what do you think value prop when it comes to using multiple people?
So I just think the leverage of having the leverage and being able to trust that leverage, which is huge. So like these guys, they know that they can pass off a file and they 100% know that everything's going to be taken care of. They're copied in on every email. They're copied in on like call notes from what me and my transaction coordinators and my listing coordinators on our team have. We transcribe everything for them so they can go into our CRM and see like, oh, Sam called Joe on 122, talked to him about inspections, asked him for a review and referral. He's happy to give us all of those things. So I think just having that and them just getting to like hands off, they negotiate and they love on their clients. And that's really all our agents have to do. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like that's all they should be doing because we have everything else taken care of for them.
Yeah, I think that as time's kind of gone on, like I mentioned earlier, my value prop's changed, right? My value prop before was, hey, you know who you're calling at any given step in time. When I was an individual agent, I wouldn't beat up on the team, but I would say, listen, when you pick up the phone, you're calling me and you're talking to me, right? Because I genuinely believed that was the best case. And as I grew, I realized that I wasn't the best transaction coordinator. I wasn't the best MLS specialist. I wasn't the best at going on appointments, taking phone calls from agents, getting showings scheduled, and then also relaying that to my client. I'm not going to go into too many details, but there's been plenty of times when I would overbook, or, I double book a showing or something silly because I'm trying to do everything myself. So finding some type of leverage piece has really become a value proposition to my clients. Sorry, Josh. Okay. As time's gone on, that's changed, right? When I was an individual agent and I was just starting out, I would walk up to every listing I did or every buyer's consult and say, listen, you're getting me. You're getting 100% me because let's be really honest, you're my number one focus. Yes, Keller Williams has a ton of listings. Yes, there's a ton of buyers that could walk into this listing, or yes, there's a ton of off-market properties I can show you, Mr. Buyer. But when you pick up the phone, you get me. Now I realized that wasn't the best thing for them and my value proposition has changed, but I deeply, deeply believed it when I was telling somebody when I was an individual or just had Sam by herself and she was overworked anyways, to that, things change, right? Your value proposition won't be the same today as it's going to be in a year from now. It definitely won't, or it shouldn't be, at least we'll say that. Yeah, thanks, Sam. But anyways, sorry, Sam, this is going to be bad. I'm going to put Sam's information as well when I give my info. Either one of us, I'll speak for her a little bit. Either one of us are more than happy to help out, email, text. We both have young children, so please be respectful of that when it comes to our timeliness. But meet with you guys and kind of talk a little bit more about what our value prop has done, how our team's evolved and changed as well. So yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you for getting all of this ready for me too.
Yeah.
Thanks. So cool. We're going to go to the next part of it here. The 3 aspects of service. It's going to be on, I don't know what slide this is for you guys, but the 3 aspects of service here. It's going to mention 3 things: purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary. So the purpose is, what is the purpose of real estate? What's your purpose in real estate? But what also is the true underlying purpose of people buying and selling a home, right? Also, what we've talked about mainly today is your value proposition, how to communicate it clearly, concise, and your clients, 1, they hear you, right? They hear what you're saying, but 2, they believe you. I think the number 1 thing in that is you have to believe what you're saying. Like I mentioned a second ago, when I was an individual and I said, I'm the best you can possibly have because I'm me and you know who you're talking to, I genuinely believed it. Now I know that in my current state, that would not be the best case for my clients. And I know that my new situation that we have with the team and everybody involved, that's the best thing for my clients at this point in time. And then also fiduciary, number 3, exhibit a continual drive to put your clients' needs above all else. So when it comes to the fiduciary side of it, there's going to be two parts that we talk about later. Having a fiduciary, a responsibility for your clients is huge. And for me, we look at a lot of property going off market right now, right? So there's a lot of, you didn't have to, an individual agent can find a buyer off market by themselves plenty of opportunity right now. There's just not a ton of market or a ton of inventory on the market. When you have a team, it's much easier to even find something off market, right? But making sure that you still have your client's fiduciary interest, both the buyer and the seller. Knowing right now that you put a home on the market, you may run into a few offers, but is that the best case scenario for your client? If you have an older client who's worried about getting out of the house or dealing with, the illness going around or there's snow out and they don't want to mess with it, is finding somebody who can come and look off market, reducing the amount of showings, reducing the amount of the travel, is that their best case scenario? Or is it putting it on the market, letting it be a feeding frenzy? And is that their best option? Really acting as a fiduciary when it comes to that for your client, and then also just giving them advice and contractual advice as it goes along. So we'll talk a little bit more about step one here. What is the purpose of real estate? What's the underlying purpose of real estate? I'll ask you guys, right? What do you guys think the purpose of real estate is? Let's focus on buyers. So for buyers, what is the purpose in today's market, right? We're looking at everything. What is their purpose in real estate and acting in real estate? Yeah, absolutely, right? So like our goal ultimately becomes oh yeah, you're good. I can repeat too, I guess. She said to help them find a home, right? That's a pretty easy answer, right? Our goal, and more specifically too, is right, find them a home in their timeline and their price point that fits their needs and their wants as much as possible, right? Our wants right now are a little bit difficult to find, but our needs are we can get that done. That's our purpose, right? Our purpose is to help them the best that we possibly can to find the home that fits their needs, right? Whether that's their forever home or their intermediate home or their first home or their investment home, it doesn't really matter. Great. What about for sellers? So for clients that are selling, what is the purpose right now? Yeah. Why are the majority of your sellers selling right now? Yeah. Right. So interest rates are going up a little bit, right? And they're talking about them going up more. You're seeing more people right now pull the trigger and say, all right, now's the time, right? Before interest rates hit 4 or 4.5%, when I had 100 people that could afford my house, now that just dropped down to 50 because the price point jumped out, right? The price of the house didn't change, but their monthly payment did. And let's be really honest, 99% of the people that are buying a home in Springfield, they're not paying cash to live in it, right? Maybe for an investment, definitely. But if you're buying a home as your residence, it's probably going to be with a mortgage, and they're going to be looking at the payment as much as they're going to be looking at a price point. Most of my buyers that I sit down with and that I meet, whether they're friends or family or referrals, it doesn't matter. They're more concerned about what they can get for a payment compared to what they can get for a price point. And a lot of our buyers consults, I sat down with one with Cody Costello the other day, and a large majority of his consult and his value prop to them was showing them exactly to the best of his ability, right? We don't know the exact closing costs. We don't know the exact rate that they're going to get or their exact insurance costs, for a year, is to show them what a payment actually gets. So if somebody says, hey, I can afford a payment of $1,500 and I'm comfortable spending between $1,200 and $15, showing them what a $1,200 a month house looks like compared to a $1,500 a month house looks like, and letting them guide their own search, right? To your point though, the sellers know that as well. The sellers can look at it and say, and that's part of our value is to inform them. If they don't know it, it's to say, Mr. Seller, your house is worth 400 today. It'll be worth 400 tomorrow or 6 months from now, or, roughly the same, but your buyer pool may drop down because of interest rates changing, right? Because the fact that you're going to have more inventory on the market when we come to a spring market, typically speaking, you get more inventory. So you have more competition as a seller as well. Right now, there is no market or there is no inventory similar to yours on the market. So you're going to be able to get top dollar. Your interest rates are lower for a buyer, and they're going to be able to afford more people will be able to afford this house compared to if interest rates take another 0.25% or another 0.5%. So, I mean, it's a big point, right? They know the market.
Josh.
Yes. I don't know who's talking.
It's Josh also.
Oh, hey.
Do you think that this is going to slow inventory even more? Obviously we had a big push because interest rates were so low where somebody could go from a $200,000 house to a $250,000 house without an increase in payment. It seems like if you've refied and you're at a 3% and you know if you sell, you're going to be getting a 4%, that would be
A little more
a
difficult.
valid reason to get sort of the opposite reaction.
Yeah. I think that you have a point there for sure. What I think we're going to see more of this year, or less of this year than we saw last year, are the people that own their house for 6 months selling it and making 10 grand. Right. So these people that are going to be selling this year, I don't believe are going to have lived in their house for as short of a time period as we got used to seeing last year. I had clients that bought and sold within 15 months and they made money at closing. Don't know how, don't understand it. And then, like, to your point, they went to a more expensive house and then had the same or less payment. I don't think we're going to see people being that dramatic right now. I think people are going to be more pointed when it comes to buying and selling. I think you're going to see more people who have been in their house for a little bit longer, taking advantage of it still. It's not been too long ago that rates were 4% and it was a good rate, right? It's been a little while. It's been, Josh, you might know a little bit more, but what, 6 years or so when we saw 4%
5 or 6,
again?
yeah.
Yeah. So someone who's been in their house, you've been in your house 5 years in Springfield. We've seen 21% appreciation last year. You saw 15 the year before. You saw 8 or 9 the year before that. They're able to overlook the interest rates going up a little bit, but I don't think you'll see as many of the, hey, I just bought my house in 2020 or 2021. I want to sell it. I definitely don't think you'll see that, except for maybe in those particular areas, right? The highly sought after areas, or maybe somebody who did a house hack and they flipped it and they want to take advantage of the equity. I definitely don't think you're going to see the people that are like, cool, I'll take advantage of a market nearly as much. And quite honestly, my fiduciary isn't to get those people, right? Because that may not be their best option. If I truly have someone's fiduciary and I say, yeah, great, you can trade from a 250 house to a 250 house and your payment went up $200, yay, that may not be their best option, right? So knowing that and understanding that and knowing their break even and what makes more sense for them is definitely going to impact that. Working with a great lender that can explain that on that end of it as well is hugely beneficial. Somebody who, Josh, worked with USA Mortgage, exactly, and have to pay a commission, right? So somebody can't afford to live in a house now for 6 months and make money and have less payment at the end of the year or at the end of the transaction. Josh, I know, was willing to have those conversations with people when he was with USA Mortgage, and having a partner that you trust and a lender, it's so greatly important that you can, just like Sam said, you can trust them to take care of your clients. I have that with my title companies. I have that with my lenders as well. That's part of your value proposition. 100%. Ready. We'll go ahead and go on to value proposition, however it says, right? Value proposition. So let's define exactly what a value proposition is, and what it may mean to you and how you can relay that to your client. So value proposition, I'm going to read exactly what they said here. Value proposition distills your services offerings into a succinct set of benefits for your clients. It states what you do, your client, to earn your commission and help to explain the complexity of what you do. It also helps hold you accountable to higher standards. I don't think that could be said any better, right? It's not only what you do, but it's the standards that you're setting. I always joke, I don't know if you guys have read through the real estate agent requirements when you look at like a listing agreement or a buyer's agreement. I quite honestly, I will pause during my listing presentation and I will make a mark there and say, if you feel that I'm only doing these options, call me, text me, email me, fire me immediately. If that's all I'm doing for you, I don't want to work for you because I don't deserve to work for you. If that's the minimum, if I'm providing you minimum services and that's it, I shouldn't be working for you. It's not a value to them. So thinking of this definition, what do you guys feel that your value proposition is outside of Keller Williams, right? David mentioned that earlier and it was perfect. What is your value proposition, right? As either an individual or as a team, what do you guys think of some of the things that is your value proposition? I'll start by saying,
Mine would be, I have 6 previous years of real estate experience. I've been a
Absolutely.
business professional. I've had my own business for 25 years, which is a 30-year-old business. I have, college, which wouldn't
Yeah.
know where to put that, but my previous experience and my closings and my
100%. Go back on your experience, go back on, what you have to offer and what you've done in the past. Use those reviews and referrals that you've gotten from other people as your value proposition. For me, first things first, when I'm doing a listing, the number one thing that I mention, because it's always, people always ask, when are you going to shoot photos, right? How quickly can you put it on the market? I said, well, I want to get your house listed as quickly as possible, but not at the fact of me coming through and taking cell phone photos. My iPhone 13 Pro is really great, but it doesn't shoot professional photography. So as soon as my photographer can get in and get me the photos back, which is usually within a day of him taking the photos, we can get your house listed. That's our first value proposition, right? We pay for professional photos on any house that doesn't need to be torn down. We have plenty of houses that need to be torn down that we list because we work with a lot of investors. Those get cell phone photos, but their houses get listed immediately and they are okay with that. So what else? What else is your value proposition?
Okay. Hopefully this works. I'd say since I'm extremely new to the industry and I don't have a lot of experience to be able to provide for my values, so the next step that I feel I'd be able to provide is education. And so I feel that that would be a huge value to them. If I know and have my finger on the pulse of the market, if I know what's going on with rates, I will be able to educate my buyer or seller in the correct direction and ultimately either netting them the most money or finding them the best home for their buck.
Possible deal right now.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic. This list can go on forever, right? It could be as big as knowing the market better than anybody else, right? You can be an expert of the market and truly understand, right? Not predict it. No one can predict the market, but look at the breadcrumbs behind us, look at what's leading you forward and direct your clients accordingly. Especially when we come to talking about like investors right now, they're going to ask you that question a million times before they may purchase a home, right? The sellers are doing the same thing, just like Josh mentioned. Having that type of conversation and being ready to handle those objections, right? If you're not a student of the market, if you're not a student of real estate, if you're not a student of what's going on in your neighborhood, then you've already lost, right? You're not providing that value. Brian Jackson says, my main focus is consistent communication. Absolutely. And a large list of resources to assist our clients. I don't know if you guys were in team meeting the other day when Mike made a joke about Brian Jackson knows everybody to do anything. Sorry, Brian, I just put you on blast. If you can't find somebody, a specialist of some sort, I've done a deal with Brian in the past and I needed help. I don't even remember what it was, but Brian was like, yeah, here, this guy's the guy that I would call to get him in a timely manner. He was the seller. We needed to get inspections done. So he said, here, call this guy. Was willing to give somebody that he trusted for his own clients to come do, a bid on, I don't remember what specialist report it was. So Brian Jackson, his team, phenomenal. Great reach out. But Brian, you can't be more correct. Consistent communication right now is huge. We all have so much going on in front of us. I have my phone notifications off because it would go off and it would distract me, right? If I'm not focused on the communication with my clients and I'm focused on other things going on and I'm losing my clients, it's a complete disservice to them. Focusing on the people that are signed clients and not all the mess and all the noise going around you. Anything else, guys?
I mean, we have the value of our team,
100%.
right?
100%.
So
How many years has Mark been?
18.
See, right? You're brand new, right? But all three of you guys are pretty new, right? Yeah. You're not new. You have an 18-year-old team.
Mhm.
You're 100% right, Justin. 100%. team, and you've got a fantastic team as well. So huge. So I'm going to read a little bit from what they said here. Your value proposition statement phrases your skills, expertise, insights in language that makes them relevant to your clients. So your value proposition doesn't necessarily change per client, but what you focus on may change per client, right? If you have a client that says, I don't want to be available or I don't want to show houses at 8 a.m, but I work every night until 6. Like, your value proposition may look a little bit different than, hey, I'm a full-time realtor, so I'm in the office available 8 to 5. Your value prop to them may look a little different. They may not care about your communication with them between the hours of 8 and 5 because they're working and can't talk, right? They can't communicate with you. So your value proposition doesn't necessarily change. You still have the same value proposition, but what you focus on may change a little bit. What you relay, what you provide to somebody may change a little bit. Trying to look here and see if there's anything else. Kind of mentioned on changing the phrasing based off of what your individual means. So I want you guys to take a little bit of time, do your elevator pitch, right? So let's take 30 seconds or a minute. I'm gonna kind of write one that I use as well. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I do, and I'm just gonna. I'll use this one here. So this is, I just handed them something that we give out to every one of our meetings, right? And like I mentioned earlier, this points me in the direction of providing my value proposition. So I have a packet. I know you guys can't really see it real well. This is what I take on every listing appointment, what every one of my listing agents take on a listing appointment, and they have what our buyer's agents take on their buyer's appointments. It's a value proposition. But as an agent, you get distracted, you get busy, and you really forget to hit on a lot of points. If you're sitting here trying to have a conversation, trying to make a relationship with somebody, you may forget to tell them what your value actually is. This points me in that direction. This makes me stop, slow down, and provide that for them. If you guys have any questions, please come by my office, email me or Sam, and we can help you out with this kind of stuff as well. So I have Grant Wistrom's listing packet with me. So on here, it has his about me, talks about how long he's been in real estate, what his personal goals in real estate are, his connections that he has. And then it also goes into talking more about his team. It talks about our team's average list price, average sales price, our list to sold ratio, our average days on market, percent of homes that we sell within 30 days. All of those are going to be value propositions, right? Especially if you can look at the average for the GSBOR, right? Which we get those monthly from Rachel. You can pull them anytime you want. You can pull market stats. And if your value is that you sell homes at a higher price per square foot and quicker, that's your value proposition, right? So that's something to hit on. I've had these in my own, and it would say, on average this year, we've sold homes at 93 or 99.3% of list price, and without a price change, right? So that's a huge thing too. When the board was at 97%, I would write that in pen. I would go pull the facts from the board and write that in pen and say, here's what I'm doing, right? We put client testimonials in here. I don't read over all of them, my clients, but I show them, right? Part of our value prop is knowing what's going on in the transaction. So I know you guys just looked over what it says in the buyer of like what a buyer can expect, what terms are, or what, interviewed for the client, pricing the home, staging, marketing, MLS, like everything that they can expect to happen. And 5 of these items are before it ever even hits the market, right? That's not even true. That's 6 of these items before a home ever even hits the market. We can talk a little bit about your personal home as well, right? So we have on here that a big thing to me is I always want to know what a seller thinks their value proposition is of their house. Their house has value to them, right? And if you forget to market something that's important to your clients, or you don't know to market that's something that's important to your clients, you've lost with your clients. You can make the most beautiful pictures, the most beautiful staging, the most beautiful marketing remarks, but you forgot to mention this ugly fire pit that they put in the backyard, and their never happy, right? So figuring out what's the most important to them about their house, right? Something that they love, something that they think is important that they've done, whether it's some awful updating that they did to the bathroom that they think is amazing, right? It deserves 20 grand. Figure out what's important to them so you know that as well. Absolutely, please.
So just that is an objection
Mhm.
that we've had that I.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear how you would handle that situation, say.
Yeah.
It was a gaudy, awful update. They're just so proud of it.
Mhm.
However.
They want to price accordingly because of it. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And I wish I had it. I know you guys may have heard of it. If you guys have been to Bold, we used to get a flash drive that was a scripts that you could listen to. They had one that actually discussed this. I think it's still plugged into my car from when I first took Bold, and I just never unplugged it. If I can find it, I'll bring it to you guys because it's actually, they had a few things in there that I really, really liked and really stuck with me. This was one of them, right? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand that you updated this. Let's just say it's your master bathroom, right? And did you guys update that recently? No, you updated it 4 years ago, right? So you guys have used it for its value, right? So you guys over the last 4 years have gotten value out of it. It's not necessarily what, it wasn't designed for everybody else, right? It was designed for you. The value was designed or was derived from you guys and what you needed in your current situation. Whether it's perfect or not, it may not be the value for somebody else, right? It's the same conversation that I have when somebody's like, I've got this carpet that needs to be replaced. What do I put in it? Like, don't go put something in there that you think's amazing just because you think it's amazing. If that amazing carpet's purple, right? Go something that everybody's going to like. If it's something that's special, right? You don't have to tell them that it's ugly. You can say it's unique, right? Listen, this is a unique design to you and to your house. And you guys over the last 3 years have received the benefit of that, correct? Yeah, correct. Awesome. So with that being said, I understand you put $20,000 into this bathroom and you think that you guys are going to up the price on this $20,000, but in today's market, we're already at the top of price points. An appraiser also isn't going to look at this bathroom and give it an additional $20,000 when we're already pushing $150 a square foot for the neighborhood. Unfortunately, because of the way that our market is, we're already at the top end of what a appraisal may bring. There's a difference between pricing and getting an offer on a house and then the house then closing because of an appraisal and inspections and all of these items. So we need to keep all of that in mind as well, right? My job is not to convince everybody that this is the perfect bathroom or the perfect house. It's to get you guys an offer that closes. That's the best net of money, right? The shortest amount of time with the least amount of problems. If we overprice a house because of a bathroom or a kitchen or something of that nature that's been updated and we lose the showings and we lose the offers and we lose the money, then it doesn't do any of us any good, right? That's how I like to approach it. I like to remind them that they saw the benefit of it, right? They got to use their house that they love. It may not be what somebody else loves, but you don't have to tell them that, right? Remind them that they got to use it for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years. My favorite's the people who updated their house in 2010. It's like, yeah, we just recently updated. I'm like, guys, y'all lived here for another 11 years, right? You've used it for 11 years. That's not necessarily an update anymore, right? It's time for another round of updates, which is crazy to think about. So reminding them that they got to enjoy the benefit. I think that's huge. If they don't get to enjoy the benefit, it doesn't do them any good. So yeah, I think that for me is going to be how I would approach that one, reminding them about what they have. Please. Mhm, mhm. Mhm.
But unfortunately, a lot of the feedback over the course of 6
Yeah.
they still had the
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
wallpaper and had the hot pink and
Mhm, mhm.
hotel looking
Absolutely.
type floors. Tried to explain it.
Mhm.
The reason. Well, they're gonna move in, repaint. All of the other comparables show had a more updated and modern.
Same pricing,
Yeah.
same comparables.
So,
So there's two things to go about that, right? You can say, listen, update it. or don't. And honestly, I don't personally, I don't necessarily care what a client decides to do. Not for the fact that I don't care, but it really isn't my decision whether or not somebody goes and puts money into their house to update it or they reduce their price, right? Looking at that person, let's say that they did update their house 15 years ago, and you say, do you remember how much you spent on those updates? And they say, yeah, it cost us 30 grand to update it. Great. So 15 years ago, that cost you $30,000 to update this house. In today's world, in COVID world, in shortages world, and inflation world, what do you think that's going to cost the potential buyer to then paint this 6,000 square foot house, to put new floors in this 6,000 square foot house? Let them give you an answer, right? They may say, well, we did it for 30, so, maybe 30,000. Well, it's great 15 years ago, but we know that's not the case now. You're probably looking at $60,000, $70,000. Now we have to figure out where that difference is coming from, whether you guys want to go spend the money to update it, or whether we want somebody else to, to have the option, have the ability, have the margin to go do it. No one's going to pay full market value for a house. They have to go pay $70,000 to update it to then get it to full market value. It doesn't make sense. I just bought a house that was that way a year ago. And that was the conversation I had with the sellers. It was, I can't buy this house at your price because I can't do what it needs, and that was the conversation I had with them, and getting them to understand. It took time, right? But it was multiple showings, no offers, same feedback, multiple showings, no offers, same feedback, to where then you're able to say, hey, here's my value, right? My value proposition to you is explaining to you what the market is saying. My value proposition is saying that either update the house, which is difficult and time consuming and expensive, or reduce the price. It may be the same amount of money, but it's not time consuming and it's not difficult on you physically, right? Which do you prefer? If they update it, they might be able to net a little bit more because of this new updates and how gorgeous it is, but to what extent, right? That becomes a whole nother topic. And just making sure that it makes sense for everybody at that point. I usually push, especially if it's like an older luxury and their older style, it probably means like clients are older themselves. It's more of a, hey, let's price accordingly for what we know the house is going to need. Not what I want to do to it, but what it needs. It needs me to rip off all this drywall. It needs me to pull out all this stretched and cut and stained carpet, right? So that gets to be your value proposition through there. We kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, functionary versus fiduciary, what the difference is. A functionary is definitely not the same, right? A functionary, you don't have your client's best interest at heart. You're not trying to, you may have your own interest at heart. You may have your commission as the number one interest. And unfortunately, that's not our job, right? Or fortunately, I think really, I should have said there. I've never once received a commission that I didn't believe that I deserved. Some deals are easier than others, right? And if I was acting as a fiduciary and I genuinely believe that I wasn't providing a service, then things would completely change, right? So your services are what brings in the value there. Whoops, too far. Cool. So we'll go back to what a fiduciary refers to. So a fiduciary refers to the person who has fiduciary obligation. You are your client's fiduciary. So it refers to something dealing with trust, especially relationships. You have fiduciary duty to your clients to protect their best interest during what will likely be the largest and most frightening transaction of their lives. Sometimes we forget as real estate agents, because you may do, if you're by yourself, you might do a transaction a month, right? Doesn't sound like a ton when you're looking at other big teams, but at the same time, you've done 12 more transactions than most of your clients have done in a year. So it becomes very unemotional for us. And that's kind of part of what I believe our jobs are, is to not let it be emotional and not get involved in our clients' emotions, but to be a factual and a more fiduciary based set of their interest. And it is a huge purchase. People go and buy cars, and it's an expensive purchase nowadays, but it's nothing like a house, right? And even then, how long does it take someone to go buy a car? You walk into the dealership with cash, you know what you want. You're still there for 6 hours, right? And that's $30,000 purchase. You're talking about a $300,000 purchase. Imagine the time and the effort that they expect from you. Definitely something that you have to keep in mind when it comes to it. Our value proposition is to not act as a functionary. It's to act as a fiduciary. A functionary doesn't have somebody else's best interest in mind. They may have theirs, or may have another client. They may have somebody else's interest. They may have the other agent's interest in mind, but not necessarily the client that you represent. Great. We'll go ahead and keep going. I'm probably running behind, knowing me, because I like to talk. I'm a real estate agent after all. So talking about value proposition, we're going to take a look at some data around what your clients want. We're going to look at big pictures, look at the current real estate market, and we'll discuss some ways that technology can boost our value proposition. So obviously, being at Keller Williams, David, you kind of mentioned it earlier, we've got technology everywhere, right? We've got the apps, we've got shared marketing through everybody in the company. We've got Command, we've got DocuSign, everything that's involved that way. We have our own CRMs, we have drip plans, we have auto plans, or whatever they are called. I forget, because every company uses a different term that means the same thing. But your clients are going to see properties before anybody else, right? Because of the technology that we have within our office to expose everybody to them. So let me see here. Awesome. So let's talk about what a buyer wants. 2018 home buyer and sellers from NAR. Obviously, easy answer. Help find the right home to purchase. Pretty self-explanatory, right? The next biggest point here is to help negotiate the terms of the sale. This, as a real estate agent, is my favorite part. And then help with price negotiations, which I kind of lump those two together. And then other is going to be the fourth factor here. Helping negotiate as an agent, like I said, my favorite part. That's part of my value proposition personally. I don't let it become emotional. It become factual based. The fact now that we're able to represent our clients and their best interests, and our job then becomes to get them either the best deal on the buy side, whether that's terms of closing times, title companies, closing costs being paid, inspections, or whatever other items it may be, or if it's on the sales side, knowing that, hey, I need a reverse contingency for 45 days to find a property, but it's still going to lock me in on the highest possible price point that I can because there's no inventory. I love to negotiate for them when it comes to an offer. First step's getting the offers or getting an offer, and then negotiating. I do my absolute best, whether I enjoy working with an agent or not, but making them feel like I absolutely love them, especially when it comes to being a buyer's agent, because then I know of instances when we have won deals that we may not have been the highest price point, right? But they know working this transaction with me and my team is going to be the best of all the options when it comes to net, timelines, and easiest transaction, right? They're not looking for just the most amount of money. They're not looking for just the right timeline or just the easiest transaction. It's a marry of all three when it comes to them being a seller's agent. That if you're able to create relationships outside of Keller Williams and just meeting with anybody that's another agent and show them your value of being an easy, clear, concise team to work with or an individual to work with, your value goes through the roof as a buyer's agent. That right there is the biggest thing for my clients. Awesome. Go on to what buyers value. I think this is kind of goes right along with it. Reputation of an agent. My reputation goes along with that. I hope that no other agent ever talks, bad about another agent. But at the same time, I hope that my reputation is positive if it's ever spoke on from anybody else. An agent that's honest and trustworthy, an agent that is friend or family member. I think that kind of goes down a little further nowadays because everyone has a friend or family member that's an agent. And it seems like I'm hearing more now. It's like, I've got 2 or 3 friends that are real estate agents, and I don't know that I want to use any of them because I don't know whose feelings I hurt, right? So being able to either provide the value outside of that to where you're one of those 3 friends or family and saying, hey, listen, I get it. Here's why I'm going to be your best option, right? Here's why I'm going to fit you the best. An agent that agent's knowledge of the neighborhood, just like you mentioned earlier, right? Being a student of the market, student of the area, it's going to go leaps and bounds for you, whether that's a selling agent or a listing agent. It doesn't matter. That doesn't change either way. So we'll change a little bit to what sellers want. I think in this market, it changes the conversation a little bit, right? We want to list the house as high as possible, but we don't want to overprice it. It's shocking how easy it is to still overprice a home, even considering what this market's doing. We're seeing more value in not underpricing a house, but pricing it not as aggressively and allowing offers to come in. My clients and I don't get anything if we don't get offers. And looking at the GSBR or the market trends, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I think it was a 6.5 or 7% difference on list price to sales price with no price reductions compared to one or more price reductions. So if you overprice a house, you are now going to take let's say you do a 5% price reduction, right? So on a $100,000 house, that's $5,000. And they're then going to get an offer another $1,000 less than that. So they went from $100,000 to $95,000 to then down to $94,000, $93,000. Compared to if you were to list at 90,000 in today's market, you're probably going to have people going crazy, multiple offers, right? It's that tight. So it's hard to ever want to say no to a listing, especially in this market, but you have to be able to educate your clients, right? Know what to how to inform them of what to expect. Because the conversation that they hear and what might have got you in the door says, listen, I'm getting multiple offers on my listings. I'm doing this, that, and the other. And if they say they want to overprice their house, you then may have lost your multiple offers. You may have lost your first day on market. You may have lost your 10,000 over asking if your client wants to overprice that. So your value then becomes informing them and instructing them on what to expect at that point. Knowing your market is what it's going to lead to the most amount of money and the easiest transaction for them. Kind of talks on the next part. Help price the home competitively. Don't overprice it, right? Price it for the market and now. Let your buyer's agents create competition for you. Help sell a home within specific time frames. You have a client that walks in and says, hey, I have to be in Chicago by the end of February. You don't have a lot of time right now. Can it be done? Absolutely so. It can be. Can you deliver your value to them by showing them, options, right? Whether it's mail out closings or whether it's early possessions and getting rents from your clients or anything of that nature to where it makes their life easier so they can go ahead and move on to that next job or whatever it may be. Following those timelines are huge. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people buy new construction and selling a house, going into new construction. If you're under contract on a house, your contingencies aren't automatically there in the contract like they are if you're buying a house. So if that new construction house isn't done being built yet, isn't finished yet, you don't have any contingencies in your contract that protects you, you still have to sell your house and then you get to be homeless unless you put in contingencies for that. So helping negotiate with that's always a huge one as well. So yeah, that's another thing there. Help find the buyers for the home, which obviously we have a huge network to do that as well. What sellers value the most is other. First of all, I don't know what other is, which is disheartening, but the reputation of an agent, pretty self-explanatory, right? Big focus is going to be, in today's world is social media, right? They're going to see what other people may say about you. They're going to go on your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your whatever. They're going to look you and your profile up and your reviews up, Google reviews, everything of that nature. The reputation is huge. People are smart enough now to ignore the 1-star review, right? You're never going to have everybody be happy, as hurtful as that is, but they're going to overall look at their reputation. Please, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I'll brag on Shanna on our team. We had a client closed on a house, unhappy. It happens from time to time. Not necessarily anything that was directly in our control. It was an awful situation. It just it is what it is. Shanna and Cody went above and beyond. Were very proactive in taking care of it. These clients, before they gave us the opportunity to be proactive, left a bad review. The review almost even dictated the fact that actually it did mention how great Cody was, but they had issues with the house. So they were leaving a house a 1-star review, right? They weren't leaving Cody or Shanna a 1-star review, but Cody and Shanna immediately, like the review, we all get notified when reviews come in. So they get the review, they know what their client is, they know who it is, and they immediately are proactive and start taking action on it without talking to anybody else. They don't come grab me or Jen or Dan and say, hey, what can we do? They're like, we'll figure this out. We'll do everything we can. Within 24 hours, your review was taken down. We didn't ask them to take it down. We didn't say anything. Hey, it'd be great if you removed it. These clients were like, you know what? They reacted properly to a negative reaction, and they're doing everything they can to make it a positive interaction. And they pulled that review for us immediately. It's how you react, right? Whether it's reacting to your client and having them remove the review or change the review, right? Or reacting to it in a professional manner on Facebook review or Facebook reviews or your Google reviews, and not putting your client on blast or not doing anything like, oh, you, whatever. It's like, I am so sorry. I'm going to reach out to you, or whatever it might be in the situation, and trying to resolve it.
Josh, I think we'd all like to hear the details of that story.
They moved in, an AC unit didn't work, and we're working on getting it taken care of. Or a heating unit didn't work. Excuse me. It's cold right now. So, I don't know too much more of the details, but it was a family of 5 moved into a house. I think ultimately they were unhappy, but now they are happy. So we're good. But I know we dug into our value. We dug into our vendors that we use and said, hey, listen, I need help. My clients need help. I know, Mr. HVAC guy, you're swamped right now. You've got 1,000 homes that are without power, or not power, but you're going to go work on their heating unit. I need help as quickly as possible to fix it, to Band-Aid it, to get it running, to do whatever as quickly as absolutely possible so I can provide for my clients. And within 24 hours, we had somebody over there inspecting the unit, working on it, giving us a solution to then help our clients out. And just that legwork right there, it dropped that review. Just the fact that we didn't send a number and say, hey, call this guy, right? We called the guy. We had him scheduled, and he said, hey, I can be out there Thursday at 2. We called the client and said, listen, we already have somebody on their way. If Thursday at 2 works, great. If not, I'll be at the house to open it up for him. Going above and beyond to where you can help your clients as much as possible. They're going to see that, right? They're going to notice it. They're not going to miss that. At least hopefully they don't. And then sometimes you just don't win. We've also had ones where we bought a dishwasher and paid for a 1-year home warranty, and that 1-star review is still on my website. So there's some times that you just won't win. You'll do everything that you thought was possible, and you move on, right? You move on, and that's not your value proposition, is to focus on the 1 star. It's to go get 100 5-stars for every 1 star, or 500 5-stars for every 1 star you get. So one of my favorite parts here, who's your competitor? You guys are my competitor. I'm your competitor. House key, flat fee, Remax, all the agents at all the other brokerages, they're our competitors. Right now, if you're a seller's agent or if you're focusing on listings, Zillow and Fsbos and wholesalers and any off market, I don't know about you guys, how many mailers you get a week. I recently moved from Republic, and I'm still getting mailers to my new address about that house in Republic because somebody's looking for a rental property to buy out in that area. And I've gotten 4 or 5 of them, and I don't own the house anymore. So our competition right now is anybody and everybody who can sell a house. And a very, very true reality right now is it's the homeowner themselves. It's hard pressed to sit here and tell somebody who lives in a very standard neighborhood in Republic that they can't go sell their house first day on market if they put a sign in the yard. Now, is that going to be their best option? Probably not. Could they do it? Probably so. Are they going to net the most amount of money? I doubt it, because most real estate agents are going to be dogs when they come and write them an offer. They're going to get their commission, plus they're going to get price off that, off the asking. And it's going to cost the seller more money. I love when my buyers send me a Fsbo, because I know that's when my value as their buyer's agent gets to shine, right? They're going to see this Fsbo. I'm going to get my commission paid by the for sale by owner. And I'm going to try to then write the contract that best fits my buyer, because the seller has no fiduciaries. I have no responsibility to the seller, right? My client, my fiduciary is to protect them. And whether that means inspections or appraisals or whatever that might mean, to protect my client, that's my job. That's what I'm going to do, as long as it's obviously within ethics and legal and everything of that nature. But I didn't move enough. So our competitors right now, especially when it comes to listings, is any other agent that's seeking the listing. As a buyer's agent, I mean, we all know who our competitors are on the buyer. It's every other buyer's agent that's parked in front of the same house that you're parked in front of right now. Remember who it was? One of the agents on our team, they said that they sat outside. They were the fifth person in line outside of a house. And then by the time they did their 15-minute walkthrough, there was 10 more behind them. That's your competition, right? Your value is, at that point, your value is not, hey, we're going to write the highest price to get you this house. Your value then becomes, hey, my relationship with this agent is so amazing that I'm going to get you this house and not necessarily pay top dollar. Or if your value is, I've got off-market listings, I've heard of this stuff that's coming on market or anything of that nature, being your own MLS, having a listing and saying, hey, I know this is what you want. I'm going to go door knock every house in this neighborhood, right? Or every 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath with a 3-car garage in Battlefield. I'm going to go door knock every single one of them. I'm going to go find you that listing before it ever hits the market, because as a buyer's agent right now, that's what we have to do. I'm going to proactively search, right? The scripts used to be like, the 3 P's or the 4 P's of listing a house, right? Place it on the MLS, place the sign in the yard, and then pray somebody buys it. Now it's like the complete opposite for buyer's agents. It's like, I'm going to go door knock the neighbors. I'm going to call everybody in this neighborhood. I'm going to tell them I have a buyer that's actually willing to go, and I'm going to take the contract and show them so they know I'm serious. That's what the narrative has become now, right? Actually putting in the legwork to represent your buyers. It's definitely a little different nowadays. Talking about our tech a little bit. It's part of the Keller Williams value, right? So if we're talking to another agent that's at, another brokerage here in town, or, is a new agent that's looking for a brokerage, we have all sorts of technology, whether it's on your phone, right? I can pull command up on my phone. I can pull up smart plans. I can pull up neighborhood searches and everything else through there. Obviously, we have technology like the MLS and everything of that nature too. That's not Keller Williams proprietary, but the Keller Williams technology, first of all, Gary and team have done an amazing job of making that free for us. That's a huge value prop. If I know Mike does it a fantastic job, but commands his CRM, and it's going to save him a ton of money every month, right? That's a huge value prop as Keller Williams for an agent to do so. Mike also has all of his clients tagged in there and labeled in there. We don't use command, but our CRM, we do the same thing. Every single person that's in my command or in my CRM, they are labeled as to what type of properties that they have looked at in the past. Whether they logged onto my website 2 years ago and they never did anything, they're just browsing. We all do it. I'm sure I have subscriptions to other agents' websites just so I could see a house that they posted. Every time we get a listing, as soon as that listing, or as soon as I can legally market that listing to these folks, they're getting notified, right? So as soon as Mike has a listing that goes live, he sends it out to everybody who's that may fit, right? Someone looking for a home in Nixa, Mike gets a new listing in Nixa. The second he's allowed to do so, it goes out to his 2,500 people in his database. That's a huge value proposition you're able to add. There's plenty of other companies that don't provide any CRM, and your CRM may either be literally your phone book or a Rolodex or a spreadsheet with people's names on it, which is great. Use it, have it. The best CRM is the one that you're actually using. but I can't use my phone or use the Google Docs that I have and then automatically drop every brand new listing or tell them about some value that I'm providing through whatever event you're doing at that time of year, or Pi Day giveaways or anything of that nature, right? So having that to where you can provide that through our technology that is free for us as Keller Williams agents is a huge benefit for your client. Not to mention, I'm able to then, my clients looking in Nixa, I'm able to then go find everybody who owns a home in Nixa and say, listen, I've got a buyer. With one email, it'll go out to every one of them, be personalized for them. Or I can load them up and call every single one of them and say, listen, I have a client looking to move in Nixa. Your house might be a perfect fit. Can I use that? And our technology gives that to you for free instead of paying thousands of dollars a month. A standard, one of the bigger companies, Brivity or Sync or Boomtown or Follow Up Boss, when you're looking at $1,000+ a month for just the CRM systems on top of anything else that you may add onto there as well. So the fact that Keller Williams provides that for free for us is a huge value, not only to you, but to your clients as well, because it actually is designed to work with Keller Williams agents. All right. Yeah. So she asked why we don't use Command. When Command first came out, my team was 10 people. Command was made for teams bigger than 6. Our team is now much larger than that. And really no excuse other than the fact that it wasn't at first. So we didn't adopt, we use it, but it's not our CRM, right? We use Command obviously a lot for compliance and everything of that nature. Most of our contacts are actually in Command as well, especially everybody who's doing a contract. They're all added in there as contacts, obviously. We currently, during the merger, we both used different companies. So Brivity and Sync were both the companies that we used. Both of them are great. I love both of them. Our plan is not to be on there forever. I would love it if we felt confident that Command would support everything that we needed, we would 100% do it. Yeah, and I think that the size is the issue, right? So if I was an individual or if I was a team of 6, I think 6 right now is their number. Mike was telling me that they've opened up team functions. So if I'm wrong and Mike's listening, jump in. If not, I'll have him send out a message or something. I don't want to pay for a CRM. I'll be really, really honest with everybody. It's not cheap. We have really optimized our CRMs. And sometimes the cost benefit may be there considering the amount of change that would be. We've got 30 people on our team to go to a new CRM with how many ever names are in our database, 50,000 names. It'd be a lot. The reality that we would lose people in our database while transferring is high, right? And I think some of it's scarcity mindset. I'm not going to lie, right? Oh no, what if it doesn't work as well? But it's definitely a goal for us this year to really interrogate Command because we want it to work. The God honest truth is we want to use Command because we believe in it. But it just wasn't ready when it came out for us. If I was an individual, 100%, I'd be using it. No questions, no even kind of. If I was a small team of 2 or 3, 100% I'd be in there because it is very well put together at a high level. It just didn't offer all the team functions that we needed. All righty. So we're going to take a little bit of time to craft your value proposition. Like I said, make it an elevator pitch. If you guys want to throw it in the comments, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to throw in like the bullet points, because again, the full script of it is going to base off of who your client is, right? If you're talking to a seller, your value proposition looks different. If you're talking to a seller who wants to sell a house tomorrow with no showings, your value proposition looks different than the guy who wants the most amount of money and expects his house to be in 417 magazine. Those kinds of things are going to be different. So maybe some of the bullet points that you guys have, if you want to throw those in the chat, feel free. And then I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that real quick. I'll grab myself a water and I'll come back and we'll kind of discuss some of the things that you guys have come up with. If you guys have any questions, put them in the chat or any clarifying or anything else that's not even necessarily on this topic right now, holler at me and we'll do that. we'll go ahead and get rolling. I know they've came up with quite a few items here that they can focus on. Somebody jump in the chat. I know Brian's gone. Josh, you're still there. David.
Still here.
Okay, cool. Somebody throw something in the chat that is actually what you guys would say is your part of your value proposition, whether that's, a big point. Like I mentioned earlier, like professional photos. It's a pretty simple thing, right? It's not a bad, it's an easy value prop, right? But it's something that honestly your clients could do as well. They could go get professional photography done of a house, but it's still part of our value prop. Give me something else.
I'd say just knowing where their house is at and whether they should list it or fix anything. Sometimes something as simple as maybe painting the trim or, could make it more palatable for more customers, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding the market doesn't just mean understanding the price of their house. It also means what the majority of our buyers in this area, in this neighborhood, are going to be concerned about, whether that's simple as painting a room to be a more neutral color, or hey, you've got foundation issues that someone's just going to walk away from it, never even walk in the house. We need to get these looked at before we ever go on the market. You're exactly right, Josh. Understanding. Yeah. Go ahead.
Providing ease and the burden practice in itself of selling.
Yeah. I always laugh at how easy it is for us to do that, right? Because we just do it. Checklist that we have, I think it's just from contract to close, it's like a 60-point checklist. That's once we have the contract. From pre-contract, I think it's the same 60 point, a different 60 points, but there's a lot to focus on, right? A lot to do. And if you've never sold your house, or if you sold your house 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you don't have a lot of practice in it. I think something that I always focus on for my clients as well is knowing they have a safe and secure showings. I think that's a huge thing. I know everybody that walks into a house, that they may not know these people, right? So I'm going to vet an agent. If I don't know of this agent, or if I don't know who they are, I'm going to make sure that they are a real estate agent, right? If somebody calls me and says, hey, I need you to let me in the house, I'm not just letting them in a house. I'm going to make sure they have a pre-approved buyer. I'm going to make sure they have, or if they're a potential buyer themselves, I'm going to make sure they're pre-approved or in communication with a lender as it is, and don't allow them just to go walk through the house. If you were selling your house on your own, right? And that's kind of what we're looking at here. If you were going against somebody thinking about doing for sale by owner, they don't know these people. They don't know the agents. They don't know the seller or the buyers. They don't know if they're pre-approved. They don't know to ask if they're pre-approved most of the time. They also, a lot of times, they're letting people in their house while they're sitting there with these people. And it's not necessarily the safest thing in the world to do, to just open your door and let somebody come into your house that you don't know, and you have no protection on that. The fact that they can be gone, they can be at work, and another real estate agent or myself can let them in that house, make sure that everything's safe and secure, and then they can get locked up at the end. That's a huge benefit for them that they don't have to focus on. If you try to sell your house while you work an 8 to 5, good luck, because now you've got your 8 to 5, you're home at 5:15, and you have showings from 5:15 till 7 o'clock that you're just funneling people in there, and you don't know who these people are. You don't know who these people are. You don't know if they're pre-approved. You don't know if they even have the ability to purchase if they wanted to. So having that kind of stuff done for them is, I think, always important as well. Great. Anything else, Josh or team, A team? There's a couple online, not many. There's Josh Johnson, and then Mike's not there, I don't think. I think this is his computer. Got Dayton, Sutton, and Michelle. And Nicole. Nicole's probably not on either.
Also said having that security and have a home to move into.
Absolutely, right? If a house is priced even kind of correct right now, it's selling. having their protection to make sure that they're not missing out and going to be homeless. Kind of difficult. It's definitely important right now. Also,
Josh, I don't know if this adds another one, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. As far as challenging Fsbo, we're seeing a lot of buyers, cash buyers from Seattle, California, those sort of places that I would assume most of the time will be working with a real estate agent here, and chances are they may never even get an opportunity to see a Fsbo.
yeah, I mean, it's a little sad, but that's the truth, right? The majority of real estate agents are lazy. I will say that with the kindest intent possible. The majority of real estate agents are lazy. That means that they're not going to do anything that's not easy for them to see. It's not as easy for them to go on the MLS and then stop searching on the MLS, jump on Zillow, look for all the new Fsbos, then jump on realtor.com, look for all the new Fsbos there, jump on Truly or whatever app and make sure that they see every house that's available. That's your job and that's your responsibility, but it doesn't mean that's what everybody's doing. That's sad, first of all, but if I'm able to, as a seller's agent, put this in front of every real estate agent instead of just the ones that are willing to put in a little bit of extra effort, then I am doing my client a service. You're exactly right. Putting it on the MLS is a big service to them. And not to mention, it's just faster, right? There may be a 8-hour lag time or a 4-hour lag time or 2-hour lag time in this market, and the house is already under contract if they're only on Fsbo compared to if they're looking anywhere else as well. So great. So talk about distinguishing yourself a little bit. So value proposition isn't just something you say, it's something you deliver on, right? Something that we internalize. I kind of mentioned that a few times before. So how do you apply the points that you guys mentioned, right? How do you apply the safe, secure, making sure that you understand contingencies and protecting your client? Josh, how do you protect your clients and distinguish yourself from the Fsbo on understanding mortgages, right? That's something that you get to specialize in a little bit more. That's different than a lot of real estate agents. Josh being a mortgage lender before, you guys get to use your team. How do you deliver that to your clients in a way that they actually do get to see that value? So what kind of knowledge are you expected to have, and what kind of knowledge would you truly set you apart from your clients? Josh, yours is easy, right? We just talked about it. You
Yeah,
understand the mortgage side of it.
being a mortgage broker, doing a couple flips and being able to understand, probably needed a little more knowledge of the market on what's sort of common, but the idea of simple $1,000 somebody can throw at their house to get 3,000 or 4,000 out of it, I think
Absolutely.
is definitely a good skill.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, doing that yourself in the past, right? Doing renovations or doing home projects that have provided value for you in a monetary way, sharing that with your clients, huge. And your expertise of being in mortgages, that's a big value for you. You guys have already hit on it, right? You have a team with tons of history, tons of past clients that you can go pull back on, tons of experience that you guys get to, as new agents, you get to just say, it's mine, right? How long have you been in the business? I've been in the business for 6 months, but I'm a part of one of the greatest teams. Been around for 18 years. Been at Keller Williams for 12 years. I don't know how long he's been here, but a long time, right? Been at Keller Williams for 12 years, been a part of the best training company in the world, right? My team owner makes sure that I'm a part of all the trainings. I'm part of this, I'm part of that. You get to sell that, right? That distinguishes yourself. And then the other new agent that they met with, right? If they met with the new agent and you're able to distinguish yourself from there, you're walking into an easy win. So I think you guys kind of talked about it, but the knowledge, right? We keep coming back to it. Knowledge, and understanding things better, right? Never being satisfied. There's a reason that you guys are all in this class. You want to learn more. You want to understand more. You want to get different perspectives. One of the biggest things that I always tell people when it comes to these national and regional events, I don't really care about the topic that's being taught. I care about who's presenting it. I don't want to just watch somebody read a script. I could go download the script, right? I could go download this PDF and just read it and not go to the class. But having that understanding. So future tense, you guys looking at national and regional events, find people that you like and that you trust and that are well respected within other agents, and seek them out. Seek their classes out, whether it's digital or in person, and go do it. There's some classes that you, regardless of who the presenter is, you have to go to, right? Like it betters you. But when it comes to these national and regional events, I always look at, like, family reunions coming up. If certain people are teaching on topics that I don't necessarily care about, but the right presenter's teaching, I'm going to go to that class. So if Gene Rivers teaches on, I don't know, how to win a buyer, it's not what I'm necessarily needing right this second, but at the same time, I respect him. I'm gonna go listen to his class. So keep that in mind. Always make sure that you're learning from those that you respect and that you wanna gain with here. Cool. Some more parts of the your fiduciary and your value that you get to do is to create a stellar experience with services that you provide. So we've kind of mentioned it, what part of your value prop is. We're not going to go over that again. But the three aspects of service, knowing the purpose of real estate, your value proposition, and your fiduciary, all of those come together to be your total value for your clients. So in your guys' opinion, right, the four of you guys for sure, what is your what qualifies as an excellent real estate experience? Let's focus on a buyer, right? Because the seller's easy. It's most money, least amount of time, easiest deal possible, right? But for a buyer in this market, especially, what is an excellent real estate experience chalked up to? Yeah, time, right? Fitting in their timeline so they don't have to be out of their rental, right? But being sensitive to their time as well, being available when they are as well.
I think being able to ask those questions to really determine their motivation and must-haves, I think is critical. And then you can turn around, continue to clarify as you're going through the transaction with them. These three things are most important to you, Mr. Buyer. I just want to make sure that with these listings that it is that I've sent to you, that qualify and meet your needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Needs can be found right now. All the wants are very difficult to get a hold of, right? If somebody has abundant uh, price point, then fine, we can work with it. But the majority of your clients, when they say, yeah, I'm pre-approved up to 300,000, I need these things. I want. The likelihood of you finding all 6 of those items is low, unfortunately. I hate saying that, but finding the why, finding what's number one most important for them, right? Understanding what truly is driving this purchase and making sure you've fit those needs for them in a timeline that matters. That's going to be more important to them than all of the wants down the road. They may be upset that they don't have whatever, the fenced in yard. They can get that later, right? The wants, they can come. If you want something, it's probably something you can add yourself or do yourself anyways. I think that's exactly right though. I mean, if you've got a client who's struggling to find the needs, or they don't understand what their value is going to get them, right? What their dollar amount's going to get them. I think it comes down to more knowledge, right? Not the knowledge that you have, but teaching them. Our job is also to teach our clients what they can expect from you, right? What you can provide for them, but also what they can expect from the market. This is what our market in this moment will provide for you. One of my favorite things to do, and least favorite, quite honestly, during a buyer's consult is to take them upstairs in the conference room with a TV and say, great, what do you guys need? And put that in there, right? What are you guys wanting your payment to be around? Figuring out what a price, like let's say that's a $1,500 and that spits out when you run the estimating payments, comes out to $200,000 payment or $200,000 house. Then searching and showing them, hey, here's the things you need, here's the things you want, and this is how many homes are available, 200 grand. It's one, right? Okay, let's pull back some of these wants. Here's the things you need, and now you have 15 options to go look at right now, right? What's the most important to you? and figuring that out for them. I think it's huge.
I know with some of our experiences that we've had before in the past is that a buyer will be looking at a completely different price point than what it is that they've shared with us. And so what we've done is whenever I'm talking to Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'll just explain to them, well, hey, based off of the list of must-haves that it is you provided for me, I'm going to set you up on 2 different searches, one that are going to be exactly what it is that you're telling me that you want, and you'll have the list that is available. Now, please recognize, because of the market, the number will probably be
Short
low.
list.
However, I want to make sure that you don't miss out on the opportunity to purchase a home. So I'm going to send you another list that has more broad terms. And so
Yeah. We usually have 2 different lists as well. One of ours is in our MLS, right? That one's a little bit more pointed because I'm able to be really particular with it. And then the one that they get, the home list that they get from our CRM, that sends them a list as soon as a new market or new property comes on the market. That's a very broad search. If they tell me they're pre-approved up to 200, I automatically set it up for 225. If they say they need 4 bedrooms or an extra living area or 3 bedroom with an extra living area, I always put 3 bedrooms in there. I'd rather them have to sift through those and not miss anything. The ones they receive from me from the MLS or the direct links, I've already done the sifting, right? I've already figured it, looked through it and said, this is it. This is it. This is an option. But yeah, don't let them miss something, especially in this market where it's so hard. So I think when we had inventory, we were able to really narrow down. You had a client that said, I want 1,500 feet, 3 bed, 2 bath, 3 car garage. And I would make a search that was between 1,400 and 1,600 feet, between this price and that price, in a 3 bedroom only, a 2 bathroom only, and a 3 car garage only. And I was able to send them 10 listings, and they were ecstatic, right? In their city that they wanted to live in, right? In Ozark. Now I do that and I get no properties for 10 weeks. So you have to broaden that horizon a little bit, right? You have to take away the square footage, maybe a little bit different. Or you have, you have a 2-car garage, but they've got extra space on the side yard that they can park that boat or whatever it may be. I'm working with a client right now. They're like, I either need a 3rd-car garage for a boat, or I need a double gate so I can get the boat in the backyard. And they're realistic with their price point. They know that they're not going to get a 3-car garage unless, more than likely, and they are okay with that. Educating them is the difficult part, right? Showing that list, right? Pulling up the MLS and showing them that is sometimes the only way you can educate them. You pull it up and it says 0. It's a quick education. It's a real quick education.
Hey, Josh, I had a quick question. So I got to go for a roller coaster ride being on the lender side, but there was a customer working with an agent, and in this market, I think they made like 8 offers, all over ask. And finally number 8 worked out, but it was a 2-month roller coaster ride where I didn't see anything that the agent was doing wrong. There were a few offers, they had escalation clauses, like they were really working their butt off, but it was just sort of a bad luck. But I can't imagine that the customer could say that they had a stellar experience walking away from it. What are some things that you could add to experience under a situation like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where it really becomes, no pun intended, but boots on the ground. We've got clients right now that have been searching for a year. Now, these people are picky and they know they're picky, but we know what their search is. And because they're picky, we know exactly what their search is. They need 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths with a basement that has a living room. And then an upstairs living room. They have kids and they want their kids to be separate from them. They've got a healthy budget. So what we're doing now is we're making that search, finding every closed, expired, canceled, whatever from the past, and we're calling them. If there's a neighborhood that these people like, that agent and maybe our ISAs, they door knock that house, right? They door knock it and say, listen, I know you've probably seen real estate agents at your door just looking for a listing. I actually have this buyer. Here they are. It's Mr. and Mrs. Jones. They want to buy a 5-bedroom house in Eagles Gate. Do you own a 5-bedroom house in Eagles Gate? Yep, that's what I'm standing at. Great. If they offered you the right price, would you sell it? We've got more listings currently reaching out to people based off of what our buyers need and what they're having a hard time getting than anything else. And that's the only other thing that an agent can do outside of reaching out to other agents who are doing it. So if you're not willing to do it yourself, go find the agents that are doing it and become really close to them and find their off-market properties. But the getting out, I mean, you can actually go door knock it or you can call them, right? We've got tax records. We can pull it. We can go find these people's phone numbers. We have ways, and get your face or your voice in front of them and explain to them, hey, I actually have a client that's struggling and I need a house for them. First of all, you've just earned yourself at least a 3% commission, potentially a 6% on the buy sell. Well, that person just sold their house. You working the way that you did for your buyer probably just also got you a new buyer. Even if they have an agent, I've plenty of times have beat that other agent because I was the one that showed up at their doorstep, right? They said, you know, I've had it where their agent read over the contract before that I offered them. And then I went and helped these people buy a house because their agent wasn't the one calling them. I don't know the stats exactly. Somebody can write it if they have it in front of them, but it's 80% of agents would use their real estate agent over again. 18% do. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because they forgot the person's name and their phone number or in their phone book. It's because the agent didn't remind them that they're a real estate agent. It's because they didn't follow up with him and wish him a happy birthday. It's because they didn't do anything so substantial that they remembered it, right? If I can be at somebody's door and say, hey, listen, I have a buyer that needs to buy a house and they've lost out on, Josh, your story's great. 8 offers. They're willing to pay market value plus, they're willing to do this. They're willing to do a gap to appraisal. They're willing to do X, Y, and Z. They just need a house that they can buy that they're not losing out on 6 other offers. Would you be willing to sell? The odds that you're not getting that person as a client to go buy a house is slim, in my opinion, right? If somebody showed up at my house and did that to me, hell, I might sign with them to go buy me a house. You know what I mean? Like in all reality, like, or I'm going to recruit them to my team. It's not common in today's world, especially a newer agent that's not exposed to what we're exposed here at Keller Williams, whether it's on the team or just through Keller Williams. When they don't get this training, agents these days are looking for the easy deal. That's why there's so many real estate agents that are new. And again, I was a new agent at the time in a good market. And if I didn't have the training, I would have done the same thing. I would have looked at what's on the MLS every day, and then that would have been what my buyers found, right? I wouldn't have been door knocking for them. I wouldn't have been holding other open houses to potentially meet the other buyer or the other seller who's upgrading into this $400,000 house, but they actually have the house that my buyer needs. Being out there and making your voice heard and your face seen, that's the extra thing that you can do for your buyer in that situation. And it's not necessarily that the buyer's agent didn't do anything right or wrong. It's just that sometimes we have to do more in this market when there is no inventory available. And it's kind of crazy what's available right now or what's not available right now.
Would you call that a feature that you could sort of be selling
100%. I mean, that's your
part of
value.
the team as far compared to like somebody who's an individual agent? Because obviously getting boots on the ground is much easier with a team.
So first of all, I'm not the best person in the world at sitting in front of the phones for 3 hours. That's just not me. I would rather make connections with other people and have them help me find that, right? Whether that's, I have my top 100 and I'll reach out to them, my top 100 clients that are friends of mine, and say, hey, I have a client needs a 3-bed, 2-bath in Republic. Do you know? Right. And I go to my resources of people that I know that live in Republic, have been in Republic, have friends and family in Republic, and say, help me find a house. Right. And that's as an individual. That's not anything to do with my team. As an individual, you can still jump on a phone and bang numbers. Jordan Rhodes here in the office was on Doug Lutz's team. Now he's an individual, I believe. The dude is phenomenal on that. He'll get a buyer that struggles to find it. He'll go reverse search through CRS or through the MLS and find a home or a neighborhood that most of the homes fit for this client, and he'll go find him a house. He'll call every single one of those people in there. Anyone who even paused when he said, have you guys considered selling? And they're like, no. If they go, they've thought about it. They would consider it, right? Follow up with them, make that connection, keep doing that. It doesn't have to be a team, right? Do I have more people doing it because I have a team of people doing it? Yeah, absolutely. Does that mean that the individual agent can't do it themselves? Absolutely not. The individual agent, our agents on our team still call too for themselves because they have to do it. So I think it's one and the same either way. So questions and ahas or thoughts based off of kind of some of the stuff we talked about, like has your idea of what a value proposition is changed at all or elevated to be something different that you didn't think of before? I look at you guys as, you know you have a team, right? Like when you start out, you go, my value proposition is, I don't know what it is, right? And you guys have a team, and you guys are a team together, right? You got 3 agents that are hungry to do and help and work their tails off, regardless of your team leader, right? That's a huge value for your team. Yeah, there's plenty of agents I don't like working deals with. My goal is for them to never know that, right? Because they may have the offer for you, or they may have the house for your client. And if I just ruin that relationship, right? You can have bad transactions. You can have difficult deals. Don't ruin that relationship. There's been agents that I've had some of the most difficult deals with, and we sit and we grab a drink and talk about it and laugh about it because it's kind of funny what you deal with as a real estate agent, right? So creating that relationship and building it and harnessing it, first of all, selfishly, because if they're not at KW and you can create that relationship and continue bringing them value and they come to KW, that's great for you. But also, like, it helps your clients. Every time you have to go write an offer on Tyler Richardson's house, I get to call Tyler and be like, yo, remember the last few times we've done deals together, they went really well. My clients are going to be the same way. I'm going to make sure it's as easy as possible, right? If I have a terrible relationship with Tyler, that means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Josh, have a good one, man. It's good seeing you.
Thank you.
Oh, I think we're done because we started late and I'm. Nicole, I'm sorry they didn't get to do their lead gen. I don't think that they're going to have any problem script practicing, knowing whose team that they're on. So please forgive me. Guys, if you have any questions, I'm going to put Sam's number in this chat here real quick, my phone number as well. More than happy to help out anytime. I know you guys have great resources on your team, but for those of you who watched online or who are going to watch the recording, my information and Sam's info will be here as well.
Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely, guys.
What team do you lead?
So I own Veris Network.
like to have lunch with you.
Yeah, dude.
Gotta run, because I'm sure Mark's like, well, what happened to Joey?
Hey, it was great meeting you. If, if you need
too.
anything, holler. I'm always around. I'll shoot you a text here in just a second. Once I figure out how to quit breaking this thing. Absolutely, man. Good luck. Tell Mark I didn't say anything nice about him.